Bangkok never truly sleeps, but after midnight, it changes its face. The streets around Hua Lamphong railway station grow quiet, the neon signs still glowing but without their crowds. Stray dogs stretch in the shadows, food carts pack away their leftover noodles, and the sky above glows faintly orange from city lights. Hua Lamphong is a century-old station, a grand shell of glass and steel built for motion and life. By day, it is a river of sound, footsteps, and rushing voices. But when the last scheduled train has gone, the station transforms into something else. The echoes linger too long. The benches look abandoned, and the lights buzz faintly overhead. It feels like a place caught between yesterday and tomorrow. And sometimes, in that in-between time, something happens that should not. This is the story of the night I boarded a train that was not listed on any schedule. A train I should never have entered. I arrived at Hua Lamphong just before midnight. My meeting had run late, and I missed the last departure back to my province. My bag was light, slung over one shoulder, containing only documents and a change of clothes. I was tired, but I did not want to waste money on a hotel. I thought I would simply wait until the morning train. The station felt like an empty cathedral. Its arched ceiling stretched high, ribbed with steel beams, the glass panes dull with dust. The main hall, which during the day echoed with announcements and chatter, was nearly silent. A handful of travelers slumped across the wooden benches, their bags clutched tightly, trying to sleep sitting upright. The smell of oil and iron hung in the air, mixed with the faint scent of fried food from a vendor who had already shuttered his stall. A janitor in a faded uniform pushed a mop slowly across the marble tiles, his movement rhythmic, eyes distant. I glanced at the electronic schedule board above the ticket counters. The last train had left almost an hour earlier. The screen glowed with nothing but the early morning departures. Still, I wandered toward the platforms. The vast, empty track stretched into shadow. A pigeon flapped suddenly from the rafters, its wings startling me with their loudness. My footsteps echoed unnaturally as I walked past the numbered platforms. Then I stopped. At the far end, where shadows pooled, a train waited. It stood on platform 7. The board above it was blank. No announcement had been made. Yet here was a train. Long carriages lined with windows, faint yellow light glowing from within. I looked around. No one else seemed to notice. The janitor kept mopping. The travelers on benches remained asleep. Only I seemed drawn toward it. I hesitated, then walked closer. The closer I came, the stranger it appeared. The carriages were older than the modern ones I was used to. Their metal sides were dull, streaked with rust. The doors were narrow, edges curved with an older design. I peered through one of the windows. Passengers sat inside, stiff and pale. Their faces caught the dim lamplight like wax figures. Men in worn shirts, women in simple blouses, a child with neatly combed hair. They stared forward, not speaking, not moving. The door nearest me stood open. A faint smell wafted out. Damp wood, smoke, and something metallic. My throat tightened. Every instinct told me to turn away, yet curiosity anchored my feet. I stepped onto the carriage. The floorboards creaked faintly beneath me. The door slid shut behind with a heavy click, sealing me in. The train shuddered once. Then it began to move. I sat down near the window, trying to steady my breath. The passengers around me did not react to my entrance. They remained perfectly still, hands folded in laps, heads tilted slightly forward. The silence pressed in. Normally, trains were full of chatter, coughing, the rustle of bags. Here there was nothing, not even breathing, only the faint rhythmic clatter of wheels below, strangely muted. I studied the man across from me. His shirt was buttoned neatly to the top, but the fabric looked decades old, faded and thin. His face was expressionless, lips pressed together, eyes too wide and glassy. Beside him, a woman clutched a cloth bag to her chest. Her knuckles were pale, as if she had been gripping it forever. At the far end sat a child. His hair was slicked back, shoes polished. He did not fidget. He simply stared straight ahead, as if waiting for something. I tried to meet their eyes. None looked back. My heart pounded. Then I glanced at the window. The platform had disappeared. The city should have been outside. Billboards, lights, the blur of traffic. Instead, the view showed wide, empty fields under a dull sky. I knew this could not be right. We were still in central Bangkok. A chill seeped through my shirt. My skin prickled with fear. The train clattered faster. I pressed my hand to the seat for balance. The lamps above flickered, washing the passengers in alternating shadow and pale glow. Their faces seemed waxy, almost translucent. Outside the window, the world twisted unnaturally. Fields blurred into rivers, rivers into forests, all rushing by too quickly, shifting without logic. Temples appeared in the distance, their spires sharp against a sky full of wrong stars. Then they vanished. I stood, my legs trembling, and walked slowly down the aisle. My shoes clicked softly against the floor. I whispered a greeting, hoping someone would respond. My voice sounded too loud in the silence. No one answered. I passed a row where a woman sat closest to the window. Her reflection should have been there, but the glass showed only my own face, pale and frightened. I looked again. None of the passengers reflected. The windows held only me. Sitting alone, my stomach dropped. I stumbled back, bumping into a seat. My hand shook as I gripped it for balance. The train roared onward, carrying me somewhere I could not name. Then came the sound. Slow, heavy footsteps echoing through the carriage. At the far end appeared the conductor. He wore an old uniform, cloth faded, cap tilted slightly. His jacket gleamed faintly with tarnished buttons. In one hand he carried a stack of tickets, in the other a metal punch. He moved row by row, stamping invisible tickets, though the passengers never lifted their hands. Each punch echoed too loudly, metallic and final. When he reached me, he stopped. His face was lined, but his eyes were wrong, deep black, as though they held no whites. He extended his hand silently. I do not have a ticket, I stammered. My voice cracked. Without a word, he drew one from his own stack and pressed it into my palm. The paper was damp, edges frayed, ink faded. He punched it sharply. The sound rang in my skull. I looked down at the stub. The date was decades old. My breath caught. When I looked up again, the conductor had already moved on, his back turned, footsteps receding. The passengers remained frozen. Only their eyes seemed to follow me now. I clutched the ticket tightly, my hand shaking. The air in the carriage smelled stronger now, damp earth and smoke. I looked more closely at the passengers. Their hands were pale, veins dark beneath the skin. Their breathing, if it could be called that, was impossibly slow. one rise and fall every long minute. Their lips were dry, cracked, colorless. The lamps flickered again, plunging the carriage into shadow. In that brief moment of darkness, I saw them differently. Figures cloaked in black, eye sockets empty, bodies slumped like lifeless dolls. When the light returned, they looked human once more. But I knew the truth. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The battery drained rapidly before my eyes, from 80% to 10. My watch had stopped, the second hand frozen at 12. Outside the window, the landscape shifted more violently, mountains rising and collapsing, rivers flowing backward, villages blinking into existence and then gone. The train sped through a world that should not exist. Fear pressed against my ribs. I could not breathe evenly. I stumbled toward the door at the end of the carriage. The handle did not turn. I pounded on it, shouting for help. My voice echoed back strangely, as if someone else shouted a second later. Behind me came a sound, dozens of necks creaking in unison. The passengers turned their heads toward me at once. Their eyes were wide, unblinking, all fixed directly on me. My legs buckled. I pressed back against the locked door, chest heaving. The silence was unbearable. Then, faintly, a whisper rose. Words I could not understand, overlapping voices, filling the air like the hiss of steam. The lamps flickered. The conductor appeared again, closer this time. His eyes locked onto mine. When the light steadied, the seats were empty. I stood alone in the carriage. The train slowed. Outside the window, there was nothing. No stars, no ground, only endless black. The wheels screeched on unseen rails. My vision swam. I closed my eyes, certain I would never leave. My breath came fast and shallow. My hands trembled. Then I opened them again. I was no longer on the train. I sat on a bench inside Hua Lamphong Station. Morning light streamed through the high windows. Travelers bustled past, dragging suitcases, children crying for breakfast. Vendors opened their stalls, the smell of fried dough and coffee filling the air. My bag rested at my feet. The clock on the wall read 7. Hours had passed. Platform 7 was empty. No train stood there. I rushed to the ticket counter, demanding to know about the midnight train. The clerk looked puzzled. She told me the last departure had been at 11:30. Nothing had left after that. I staggered back, heart pounding. My pocket felt heavy. Slowly, I reached in and pulled out the stub. The paper was damp, edges frayed, ink faded. The date was decades old. I keep it still, hidden in a drawer. Sometimes, when I take it out, I swear it smells faintly of smoke and earth. And even now, when I walk through Hua Lamphong late at night, I glance at Platform 7. Sometimes I think I see faint yellow light spilling from a carriage window, and I know the train is still waiting.